The next chapter of the Final Frontier is here for us to explore. Welcome to Star Trek Prodigy. This is a brand new Star Trek series from Kevin and Dan Hageman, and we're following a motley crew of young aliens who are in the Delta Quadrant. Yes, the same place the USS Voyager ended up in the Star Trek Voyager series. While the Prodigy series is intended for younger audiences than the rest of the Star Trek franchise, I still think fans of any age can enjoy this show. So let's jump into our review of this brand new series. Welcome to Trek Central, I'm your host Captain Jack and let's get right into it. Yes, this is the brand new series of Star Trek Prodigy, set in the year of 2383, after the events of Star Trek Voyager. We're following a young crew of aliens who locate the lead ship of the series, the USS Protostar, and work with a hologram of the iconic and legendary Captain Catherine Janeway. Their eventual goal, when taking control of the Protostar, is to make their way towards the Alpha Quadrant, following in the footsteps of the USS Voyager. Now, if you want to keep up to date on all the latest Star Trek news, lore and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from myself and the team here at Trek Central. Don't forget, if you're talking about Star Trek, of course we want to hear about it. Let us know your thoughts on the brand new series down below in the video comment section. Get me my ship! Now, before we start jumping into a review of episode 1, which is titled Lost and Found by the way, I really want to comment on the music and soundtrack of the series. It is fantastic. Of course, the main title score is produced by Michael Yaggio, who supervised composer Nami Melband, who wrote and composed the official soundtrack for the series. The music to Star Trek Prodigy is Star Trek at its core. Every track for episode 1 just perfectly fits the tone and complements what is happening on screen at the time. The score does not overpower the actions, but rather works alongside it. There are some fantastic moments in episode 1 where this is shown off, and I love it. The soundtrack is due to be released soon, so make sure to get your hands on that one. Let's start off by talking about alien diversity. In the show, it's amazing, which considering that it is an animated show, is easy to attain than that of a live action show. Not only are our main characters a good mix of alien species, but just all the aliens we see are so diverse. From legacy aliens like the Kazon and Tellarites to newer species which have yet are unknown. Even Dahl, our captain, does not really know which species he is. Certainly an interesting plot point to explore as we get into the new series. I personally have a feeling that Dahl discovering what his species is connects to the theme of discovering oneself. Part of growing up is learning and discovering who you are, your identity, your personality, but on a deeper level, this can come down to understanding your sexuality, gender, or anything on that level. It's certainly a theme Star Trek has explored before and will continue to do so. And on the subject of this massive alien diversity, translators aren't allowed on the prison colony, to make sure the workers can't communicate and work together against their oppressors. So everyone is speaking different alien languages, which is cool, but a sad piece of world building and reasoning to explain why universal translators aren't used on our motley crew, until we get to the Protostar. Though it seems like the Wilhelm scream there is universal in all languages, because why not? So let's talk about Tars Lamora, the prison colony which we start this episode on. It is this massive prison colony operated by the Diviner, one of the last remaining members of the Varkanut species. The colony is based on this massive spiky asteroid, which is Central Park covered by a planetary dome to make it somewhat breathable. The Diviner, voiced by John Noble, gives us massive Palpatine vibes from Star Wars. We first meet him in this massive tank of liquid as he operates in the shadows with his horde of robotic minions at his control, with his henchman, Dreadnought, having a cool mask and can shoot powerful red beams. So yes, he's remarkably like Palpatine. At the end of the episode, we also see the Diviner having smashed his tank and with the tubes attached to him, showing his decrepit body. The Diviner knows about the Federation, as he's both searching for Protostar on Tars Lamora, hence his mining operation, and says in the episode that he doesn't want the thoughts of the Federation influencing his daughter. From him being one of the last of his species, I would like to think that maybe he lost his civilization to the Borg, who were aided by the starship Voyager in dealing with species 8472, very much like Arcturus in Voyager's Hope and Fear episode. Oh, we remember the Dauntless. But what about our main characters? How do we feel about them? To be honest, I really like all the main characters so far, and we all had moments in this episode which shine for all of them. Jangon Pog, the Tellite, is cool, and being as argumentative as possible comes into play. What is very cool though is he has a cybernetic hand which can turn into a hammer. Certainly key for an engineer. I do love how he dives straight into tinkering around and getting into the USS Protostar up and running. Zero, known throughout this episode as a fugitive, is very sweet as a character, and has this tragic backstory on Tars Lamora, which is darker than I expected. But to complement that, had jokes which I found myself laughing at. The fact that they somehow managed to make a robotic body is very interesting, considering they don't actually have hands. And the discussions about Zero's gender was very natural. A couple of characters misgendered Zero, not having encountered Medusian before, and this mistake is simply corrected, as it should be. Rock Talk is very sweet, and starts this episode with a trope manner of being mistaken for a big angry rock monster, but actually turns out to be really sweet. My favourite moment of Rock Talk is probably when the universal translator is first turned on, and Dahl explains why this is Rock Talk, simply saying, "I know I'm big, not dumb," which was delivered in a great way. Our favourite character of the series so far and probably forever, Murph, appears, but they're simply there for the ride, not really doing much other than being cute and saving the day, like the best character they are. Murph, certified good boy. Or girl, we don't know. Gwen and Dahl get the most content in this episode. Gwen is the daughter of the main villain and thinks that her dad is doing the right thing, and simply capturing criminals and getting them to work, not orphans like they actually are. A Kazon slave trader, which is a nice touch and might even tell us where we are in the deep Delta Quadrant, brings a child cat alien, which Gwen decides to keep in their quarters, rather than sending them to the mine, even threatening the Kazon for bringing such a young orphan to them, which definitely shows their morality compared to that of her father. In our trailer breakdown, we did mention that Gwen's armour looks like it turns into a weapon, and it seems like that we were right, which is very cool. While we'll definitely talk about that species in a future video because they are fascinating from this ability, their glowing faces, and the fact they are at least last of their kind. Now, Dahl is fine. I think going from the trailers I did expect him to be slightly annoyed by him, but there is depth to his character, which I hope gets explored a lot. From not knowing who he is, having seemingly been kept in Tars Lamora for so long, I am sure we'll get more development with Dahl, especially now that the Janeway hologram is active. Who should help these wayward souls? Okay, let's share some final thoughts on episode 1 of Star Trek Prodigy. I think this is an excellent first episode of Star Trek Prodigy so far, possibly being one of the strongest first episodes of any Star Trek series in my opinion, which isn't that much to live up to in a high bar in the grand scheme of things. Personally, I can safely say that the launch of Prodigy as a new adventure in Star Trek media is likely to go down well. I'm very interested to see how well it does. The episode does a great job introducing us to our characters, letting us know what they're about with the smallest of interactions and seeing the dynamics between them all. I look forward to seeing more of these dynamics going forward, especially with Holo Janeway only appearing at the very end of the first episode. Having Kate Mulgrew reprise the role of Captain Catherine Janeway is very exciting. I'm a big Star Trek Voyager fan, and therefore I'm intrigued to see how this story pans out, especially for how it connects with not only the story of the Protostar, but also Janeway, but then again how it also came to be in the Delta Quadrant. We've also got to think of the fact Chakotay, voiced by Robert Beltran, is also appearing in this series later at some point. We did recently do a video here on the channel about Chakotay returning and how it could link into the Star Trek Voyager relaunch series of books, all about Project Full Circle's fleet. Certainly something to take a look at while we wait for the next episode of Prodigy later next week. You can find all those videos here on the channel. I know a lot of people were very skeptical about this show, especially with it being aimed towards kids. I do not think this impedes at least the first episode in any way. A lot of the comedy is very child orientated, but I still found myself laughing at the occasional joke every now and again. And the episode doesn't seem to shy away from some serious elements which you may expect. We get a scene in which Zero, Medusan, is being used to break the minds of slave workers in order to make them more compliant. As in most kids shows I watched growing up, I am very intrigued by the villains of the show. The Diviner has an interesting story, one that seems very in-depth and hopefully well written. How he came to be one of the last of his species and why he's searching for a Protostar remain to be seen. Perhaps his ship is the key to his race's survival, etc. Dreadnought, the Diviner's sidekick, is also interesting, and I think could be the typical sidekick villain who gets nothing practical done in the grand scheme of things. We all know them. I think if you're hesitant about giving Star Trek Prodigy a go, simply because it's targeted at a kids audience, then you're missing out. I can see viewers of all ages enjoying this series. Hopefully Prodigy achieves what it set out to do, that being getting younger audiences into the world of Star Trek, and introducing them to the universe that we all loved so much. So, we now have our crew, Janeway and a starship, and we need to plot our course. Star Trek Prodigy is shaping up to be a fantastic show, and we look forward to what it has in store for us this season. What were your thoughts on the first episode of our brand new Star Trek animated show? Let us know in the comments below. As always, do let us know, because if you're talking about Star Trek, then we want to hear about it. If you want to keep up to date on all the latest Star Trek news, lore and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central, including me. You can also follow us on social media or join our community Discord server. For now, I've been Captain Jack, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Live long and prosper, my friends. Goodbye.